Oh, yeah! That's what I just said, basically. Victory! Because friendship, duh. Haha! Loser? Screwed? Beaned? I don't even know what that means, but... Oh, come on! Really? After all that? No! Dude! You killed ponies! Come on! Yeah, exactly what I just said. Yeah, well... Not entirely. His dad kind of put him up to it, so... Yeah, it's kind of both their faults. Evil? Well, I don't know about evil. I mean, we established that they're, like, tricksters or something, but outright evil, we never really said anything like that. You already told us why, to revive your mom. Oh? How's that? What's the forbidden magic? Are you sure it's not just because your name is, you know, basically the devil? Or at least Lucifer, anyway? Yeah, don't worry about that. That was kind of an inconsequential plot point, honestly. He's fine. How long's it been, dude? Come on, you gotta let these things go. I'm not! Send him packing? Why? That's not a good enough reason in this case. What about everything else? We kind of need the witch for other things. Well, yeah, that. You act like we already have made the wish, Apple Bloom. I've been meaning to say this all game, but your name is technically 2 words. What about everything else? If he goes evil again, we'll come back and beat him down again. It's easy as that. I mean, we beat him once. How motivated is he to really do this again? Yeah, Apple Bloom's got a good point there, Sweetie Belle. Stop trying to be so sweet. Like I said, we'll just beat him again. Ever after we agree with? Is it supposed to be even after? Maybe? I don't know. No, you don't mean restore. That would be, that's the opposite of what you're trying to say. But regardless, wouldn't that create a time paradox? Because if you take away all the negative consequences and everything, then that would also pertain to, like, resetting time so that, you know, what's his face, Fallen Star and Farsight don't remember this, so they won't be motivated to do this in the first place, and then we won't have to come here and we can't make the wish, and yeah, time paradox! Not really. Because, you know, time paradox. Stop crying! Wuss. Really? Seriously? I don't. Huh? Could it be? White Luna? Hey, it's that pony that sent us off at the very beginning of the game with very little to no instruction. And she was this elder god all along. Oh yeah, because we get that wish now, but... yeah, we were kind of just discussing that. Choose wisely, you only get this once. No do-overs. It's not like the Dragon Balls where we, you know, get to do this again in 1 year. Even though they actually do it, it turned into 3 wishes. Well, actually, first it was 2 wishes, and then when Dragon Ball Super started, it was just suddenly 3 wishes for some reason, but... oh, yeah? Wait, what? The Star Ponies are immortal? Since when? Did we establish that before? I don't remember that. Oh, well. Yeah, you gotta rewrite the wish there, Sweetie Belle. Why are we letting Sweetie Belle do the wish anyway? Shouldn't all 3 of us do it or something? Don't we get 3 wishes because there's 3 of us? You know, 1 wish each. You mean, do you want granted? She's not the one granting the wish, Starry Night, you are. Yeah, we kind of need the other part. That's the same as the first wish you made! No, that's exactly the same as the first wish you made. That's still 2 wishes, because you just said you can't revive her. I mean, you can't make her a star pony and revive her. That's 2 separate wishes. Besides, she's already dead. You can't just turn her to a star pony like that, can you? I mean, I get that they're apparently immortal. But, by the way, how did you even know she wasn't a star pony to begin with? Just because she was dead? I don't think we ever established that she wasn't a star pony. I don't know, I just... well, we're getting the wish granted, even though it was basically exactly the same as the first time we tried to wish it. We just left out the part about reviving the mom. Except... you know, turning her into a star pony anyway, so somehow that made it work. Rarity would be proud, I guess, if she understood the logic. Didn't she just say that? She just said yes, basically. For some reason. Still creates a time paradox! I mean, technically it should. This is heaven. Oh, now you start acting like a little kid. Well, actually, he was kind of acting like a little kid throughout a lot of this. It's like, where did I go? Shouldn't she then, like, have memories for however long it's been? Or is this do we just, like, bring her back in the here and now and all the other stuff is undone just because? Technically, he shouldn't be so little anymore. I kind of get the... I mean, look, he's taller than you for one thing, but I kind of get the feeling it's been, like, years, like, decades or something since she died, or however this is supposed to work. Unless they're kind of like elves, and it takes them, like, 200 years to become an adult. Well, technically, you were kind of buried here, so... yeah. You want to hear an explanation about why we're at the tree, huh? Right. Oh yeah, where's that bumbling fool we called your father? You'll call him? But you can just do that? You kind of screwed up there, Fallen Star. You're missing half his face. Which is kind of behind him, but... oh, well. They kind of look like they're hugging with their sprites intercrossed like that, but... it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you've all been staring at us for a while. Should I be worried? Yeah, you should be worried. We're the Cutie Crusaders. Your husband still got a line over his head. They are. Since when? We kicked your butt, dude. Is that what friends do? Apparently, in this world. Yeah, well, we're, you know, friendship incarnate and all that, because ponies or something. Yeah, I kind of feel like she should have commented on that sooner, but... so doesn't that make you like a demi-star pony, which means you're technically not immortal? Because that's usually not what happened to, you know, demigods and whatnot. Like, you know, they didn't get the immortal part. You do? What? That's not a question, dude. That's a statement. Oh, yeah, that's right. Chosen ones, etc., etc. You gonna ask any questions? I guess not. Yeah, don't be being a jerk now that your wife's apparently alive forever. Honey? What did I say about world domination? It's like, well... it's only once. It's like, well, let's go. Oh yeah, we kind of still need to get back. Oh, it's that simple, huh? Okay. Didn't you have the power to, like, banish Fallen Star then if you can just rip us from another dimension, by the way? I mean, it kind of seems like this should have been a lot simpler if you could just send us back and forth at will like this, but whatever. I'm just nitpicking at this point. Yes, don't worry. We won't plot to dominate the world again, or, well, actually destroy it. Yeah, bye, now that we're gonna let you be happy. No comeuppance of any kind. Other than the fact we kicked your butt, what, 5 times or whatever. Ready as we'll ever be. It's like, okay. See ya. Do we get to keep the cutie marks? No. And that, my friends, is the end of Let's Play Cutie Mark Crusader Warriors. My Little Pony RPG 2 Cutie Mark Crusader Warriors. So, much like trying to compare Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2, how does one go about fairly comparing two games with fundamentally different approaches? The first game, MLP RPG Elements of Harmony, being a much more traditional JRPG for the most part, and its sequel, Cutie Mark Crusader Warriors, being more dependent on class changing and the ability to augment stats with its crystal system. Still, comparisons will be made, and Final Fantasy II will always be the black sheep of the Final Fantasy series, though I don't believe CMC Warriors is the black sheep of MLP RPG. If anything, that's the third MLP RPG, purely on the basis that it was never intended to be a serious title in the first place. Still, I will admit I did like the first game better. It's much more polished, though I could call that more of a nitpick, but I can't deny, whether it be overall story or execution, other than the Tartarus extra dungeon, I did like how the first game functioned better from beginning to end versus the somewhat more haphazard CMC Warriors. Money wasn't really much of an issue in CMC Warriors, especially after I found out we are healed automatically before most of the game's bosses. The game, as it stands, is more about the journey and the semi-freedom to change classes at will. More on that later. But I would say beyond the Ruby segment, there is not a lot of meat on the story. It was mostly a lot of repeat of find tablets, beat boss, find world stone, move on to more tablets, and etc., and so forth. I already made my initial gripe about how the dungeons are mostly either really short or mazes in the latter portion past Ruby once we lost the boat, so I won't go more into that than I already did. As a whole, CMC Warriors, I believe, is far easier than its predecessor due to the fact that it is so easy to abuse the crystal system. Realistically, I only needed to level grind or crystal farm that one time, the first time I did it. I could have taken the game on as a whole from there with no further grinding, especially since, for those of you who have seen my other Let's Plays, you know I normally try to avoid grinding as much as possible, so this one I took with a much different approach than my usual quota. But that was partly because ultimately I did want to show off some other classes, as my original plan was to stick with the Medic, Witch, and Monk for most, if not all, of the game, which would have been much more boring, but totally doable, except maybe for that second to last dragon I took on. But I did change my plans partway through, and I'm glad I did. I think I showed off the game a little better, even though I became ridiculously more overpowered than I needed to be. That being said, if you recall a little earlier in my little monologue here, I did mention semi-freedom to change classes. Even with all the grinding and farming I ultimately did, it's not that practical to use more than 2 classes for each Crusader. Trying to go with 3 or more would have required much more grinding, as I somewhat prove by having both Scoot and Apple Bloom use 3 classes each. Apple Bloom, if only because the choices at the very beginning are so limited, and I didn't want the first class she started with anyway. Ultimately, that was supposed to be the purpose of the crystals, to make up for changing classes frequently and make stat gains from level ups somewhat superfluous. But I still stand by my earlier assertion that natural stat gains are important, as I even forewent some classes because they had poor stats compared to others. But more importantly, you saw, or hopefully you saw firsthand, how I didn't really need to worry about Scootaloo's speed for the most part until the very end. I could focus entirely on the other two because her natural stat and the classes I chose for her had natural stat growth that was so high as far as speed was concerned. I otherwise used the crystals to focus particular stats for each Crusader so they could take on specific roles, although there isn't much variation for what you can do by focusing on the magic attack stat, other than Witch and Medic until the dead end of the game, so I didn't really have a whole lot of choice there. I ended up having a much more limited choices of classes than you otherwise might expect from a game that focuses on the ability to change classes. The crystals end up being more a way to break the game than fix what was supposed to be an underlying problem regarding stats when changing classes there. Now, I know I'm being a bit harsh here. This is very different from what I usually do during the endings of games I LP. I even sat down and took the time to write up a speech that you're all listening to right now. And I'm not even going over every last point I could make. This isn't intended to be as much of a full-on review as it may come across. I did enjoy the game for the most part, particularly considering I didn't even finish it before I started the Let's Play, and in fact, didn't finish it until just the other day. Like, I beat the game literally the day before I showed you and everything, but, well, actually 2 days before, because I did do a little extra than I was expecting. But yeah, my biggest gripe is, more the monotony of the later dungeons of the game, which I already went over. But my only other woes are regarding the class changing I was just talking about, as I kind of would have liked to have a 4th character to make up for some of the strategy I otherwise could have made, though that would fundamentally change the whole game, so it's not a realistic implement. That would basically require a complete do-over as far as boss toughness and what have you, and story too, since, more character dialogue. But still, it's not over yet. If you're still around after this big old monologue, I still have a lot of optional bosses and at least 2 optional dungeons to go to. I won't need a level grind for what I'm about to do next, but I will almost certainly need to for the following bosses, as they are not precisely super bosses, but more or less. So, next time, I take on the Magic Tower. What is our prize, and why did I forego it when I could have realistically gone for it before fighting the final boss? Find out next time on Let's Play Cutie Crusader Warriors. Arrivederci.